Right, Shalom. First, I'd like to give all praises unto Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, and double honors unto the apostles and elders of GreatMillStone, and honors to you brothers out there in the highways and the byways teaching this word in all sincerity and in truth. And I just want to start by stating a fact that the so-called white man, who you may know as the Caucasian man, is the devil that the Bible speaks of, the seed of the wicked that the Bible speaks of, the children of fools. Alright, that old serpent, that dragon, which is the devil and Satan, and they are the biblical nation known as the Edomites. And what they have done during the time of their authority and supremacy and rulership over the earth, which is by biblical prophecy. Job 9:24 tells you that the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. So through biblical prophecy, the earth would be given into the hand of the wicked, which equals a so-called white man. And they've took supremacy over this earth by way of the sword and by the way of deception. And they've managed to convince the people of the earth using their media and various mechanisms and methods and institutions that they have created to get the whole world to believe that this man is the superior being, that they are the people of wisdom, they are the people of knowledge, that they are if anyone is fit to rule or to be in authority over this earth, it is them, so-called white man and white woman, that, you know, inherently that they are good, inherently they are innocent, you know, the problems of the world, they will be the ones to fix them. Okay, and all these things, this deception and evil has been embedded into the minds of the people. That's why the whole world seeks to emulate the image of the so-called white man. They want to put on suits. You know, they want to be like them because they've pulled this massive deception off. When in actual fact, if you take a step back and you actually look at what he has done and what he has directly caused to occur on the face of the planet Earth, he's the devil, as I said from the very beginning. He's not the man of wisdom and he's not the man of knowledge. He's the man of evil, he's the man of death, he's the man of destruction. And that's it. Alright? Now, one example of that is nuclear energy, nuclear technology. Alright, which the so-called white man has developed. And initially he developed nuclear technology as a weapon, which should teach you a lot about the character of the man, because he is nothing more than an instrument of death on this planet Earth. That's one of the things he's good at. He's good at weaponizing. He's good at weaponizing things. Alright, he weaponized the TV. The TV is used as a weapon against the people.
Weaponize.
Alright, let's get the word weaponize up so you can understand. Right, so he weaponized nuclear technology. He did that. No one else did that. Alright. And in his pursuit of this great weapon, this great sword, which we're going to get the scripture, he has caused much harm, death, and destruction on the earth. Alright? Now, the word weaponize means to adapt for use as a weapon of war. This is where his mind is at. Let's get the book of Revelations. The heart of the so-called white man rests firmly in the knowledge of death, the knowledge of destruction. Okay? They even show you that in his movies. If you ever watch a lot of this so-called white man's movies, you'll get a scientist who's working on a new piece of technology, and what happens? The military come in and take over his research, and they use the research, they weaponize the research. That's the nature of the so-called white man, because he's nothing more than the Edomite man, the seed of the wicked, the seed of Cain. All right, which the name Cain means a spear. He's the first murderer. All right. So marvel not if he weaponizes diseases. He took disease warfare, biological warfare, and the knowledge of genetics, and he used the knowledge of genetics to wage war. And we could do a whole video about biological weapons. A lot of the diseases that people are suffering from on the earth to this very day are as a result of chemical and biological warfare by the so-called white man on the peoples of the earth. All right, we could talk about Agent Orange. We could talk about GMO foods. We could talk about a lot of these chemicals that he puts in the foods and in the air. All right. We could talk about a lot of these pesticides. These are all nothing more than this chemical and biological warfare. All right. This is Revelation 6:4. And there went out another horse that was red. And that horse red, the redness of the horse represents Esau. Edom. Edom is red. Right? And the red represents what? Blood. Because they're a people of blood. It's in their nature to spill blood. That is what their nature is. To cause death, to cause destruction, to cause chaos, to spill blood. This is the truth of this people, man. This is their legacy on this earth. They're not benevolent, man. They don't build utopias. They build war machines. They're good at destroying people. They're good at breaking things down. That is what they're good at. Yeah? Look at Libya. Look at Iraq. Look at anywhere this man has been. He's destroyed civilizations, destroyed knowledge, burned libraries, burned books. He did it as the Greeks. He did it as the Romans. And he's doing it today. Revelation 6:4. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth. This man is not a proponent of peace. Look at the history of the world under this man's rulership and authority. He will go out of his way to foment war to his benefit. He makes money from war. He makes money from the sales of weapons. If a group of people is not giving them everything that they have and own and allowing them to oppress them in their own country, they will send in their agents and foment a war in that country. This is the truth. All you got to do is look up the CIA, look up MI6, look up Mossad, and look at all the color revolutions and the wars that they have openly fomented all over the earth and the globe. Not to mention World War I and World War II. They started those wars. So while they're painting the so-called Negro, Hispanics, and Native American Indian as we are a negative influence on the planet, we're gangsters, we're thugs, take a second and think about who has started 2 world wars and why they did it, and understand who the devil is. Understand who that red horse is. Most of the wars in the 20th century were nothing more than proxy wars between the so-called white men in Russia and the so-called white men in America. Facts. That red horse, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And it was given unto him a great sword. This man perfected the art of war, the way of destruction, biological, chemical, conventional, and the most powerful weapon he possesses, that great sword, is unconventional. The nuclear weapon, the thermonuclear weapon. And he is the one who pioneered the building of these weapons of mass destruction, man. Now, to even develop and build these weapons causes death, releases radiation into the atmosphere and into the water and into the earth, which causes what? Degradation and death. Let's have a look. But you still want to look at this man like he's a savior of mankind. This man is the devil. He is destruction. And that pit that he is digging, he gonna fall into it. Look at this. This is a time lapse of every nuclear explosion since 1945. Now understand, there's one for America, 1945, Manhattan Project. Understand, there's two. That's probably Hiroshima or Nagasaki. These are gonna be these two. This man is the first and only man to use nuclear weapons of mass destructions on populations of people, knowing that it destroys the environment for everyone on the planet. Right, 1950. This is the doing of the so-called white man. Britain, so-called white man. This is 1954. All these year after year after year, this man exploding nuclear armaments, man, over the earth, in the air, in the water, and under the earth. Here we are, we in the 1960s, and you can see America has had, by that time, over 196 nuclear explosions on the earth, spewing radiation all over the earth, in the air, in the water, which ultimately gets into the food that you have to eat. It gets into the bodies of women who are pregnant, and interrupts and destroys the DNA of children before they are born, causing deformities and diseases. This is the truth, man. This is the man that you're looking at as being the guy, the savior of mankind. He's a fool. Only a fool would use such weapons, would develop such weapons, would think it's wise to open Pandora's box, to split the atom and create nuclear waste that he doesn't even know what to do with. So he buries it. He throws it in the ocean, or he buries it under the earth, and it leaks out among the people. These are all explosions. Look. This is the so-called white man. This is the so-called white man. This is America. This is Russia. This is France. This is Britain. This is the man. And imagine the amount of money that is being spent on this. The money which is being spent, the time, the energy, and the money which is being spent on nothing more than death. And this is the man you people look up to. This is the man you put in high esteem. You hang on his every word. This is the man you trust to make food for your children. You cannot trust this man. At every turn, he will do evil. This is why his society is nothing more than cover-up after cover-up and scandal after scandal in every area and industry there can be. Sorry, we didn't know that ingredient we were putting in the baby food was poison. All of these, yes, he did. And guess what? He didn't care because he was making money and he's a sadist. Oh, we didn't know that cigarettes were bad for you. Yes, they did from the very beginning. Oh, we didn't know that. Oh, we didn't. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. When they were developing these weapons, there was even a thought process that by detonating these weapons in the atmosphere, it would light the entire atmosphere in a chain reaction and destroy the earth. Guess what, man? They still did it, man. This is 1968, and they're still going. All these explosions is putting radioactive material up into the atmosphere and destroying the people slowly, poisoning the earth. This is the man that we're talking about here. This is the man that you people trust in. This is the great, so wise and all-knowing white man. The man with the highest IQ in the world. This is what he's been doing with his IQ, his superior IQ. The Bible tells you the fool has said in his heart there is no God. This man is a fool. 1985, we're still going. But they got to speed it up. When is he going to stop? When is he going to stop, man? He ain't going to stop. He's going to keep going and going and going until he destroys himself. And that's the mark of a fool. Yeah? But the same man is going to tell you, Kim Jong-il, Iran, them Muslims, them Arabs, they're crazy. They're terrorists. They want nuclear weapons. The so-called white man is the crazy one. You're seeing it right here on the screen. You got one down here for India, Elam. And who are they following? Who are they following? Look at the other nations in comparison to the so-called white man. Look at the other nations in comparison to the so-called white man between 1945 and 1998. Look what these devils have done. Right? Then what this devil did, nuclear fallout causes cancer. Let's get this, man. This man is the devil, man. Nuclear explosions from the past are still causing cancer and health problems today. See, there's many reasons why people are so sick today. It's not just one thing or another. This man has done so much madness, you really can't pinpoint the exact thing which is making everybody sick, because it's a combination of evil, man. It's a combination of poison in the food, poison in the air, poison in the water, and there's so many different poisons this man has introduced. You can't pinpoint one thing or the other. But it's all contributing. All right, and all in the pursuit of this power, the power of destruction. That's all that matters. This is a 37 kiloton blast known as Priscilla, explodes during an Operation Plum Bob nuclear test at the Nevada test site on June 24th, 1957. The device was detonated from a balloon. This man... Threats of nuclear war between the US and North Korea are bringing horrifying realities of such weapons back into focus. Not only do nuclear bombs cause devastation where they explode, survivors and people exposed to fallout suffer from increased cancer rates and birth defects, which another word for a birth defect is a monster. And that's why in the modern era, hey, the prophecy is being fulfilled that menstruous women are bringing forth monsters. Monsters is actually a medical term. In the ancient world, a monster was basically someone that was born with a deformity. Like how they show you in the movie Spartans, 300. You had the sellout guy. He was a deformed baby. He would be what's known as a monster. All right, they'll make it look like a monster is something in a Hollywood film. No, monster is an actual English word for a deformed baby. All right, the entire world, and it can also be used figuratively for someone who has a monstrous character. The entire world still shows effects from the era of widespread and nuclear testing. The so-called white man, just based upon this alone, has caused more death and pain than the so-called Negro, Hispanic, and Native American Indian can ever do. This man created AIDS. This man, oh man, no one escapes a nuclear blast unscathed. North Korea's recent. Then why did you create them? Why did you create them? Why did you fund them? Why did you invest billions and billions of dollars into the development of nuclear weapons if nobody escapes a nuclear blast unscathed, even the people that use it? North Korea's recent weapon tests, along with the exchange of aggressive statements between the US and North Korea, have brought the threat of nuclear war back to present consciousness. Most experts think that sort of catastrophic conflict is unlikely, but even the possibility should be sobering. Physicist Lawrence Krauss recently wrote that any discussion of nuclear weapons should force leaders to confront the horrifying realities involved. In that vein, it's worth remembering that such an event isn't just devastating for the people and areas exposed to the initial blast. Those who survive are still likely to be contaminated by the radiation. From what research can tell, even people more than 500 miles away from massive nuclear tests have encountered enough radiation due to weather blowing it in their radiation to increase cancer rates permanently and permanently harm babies in utero. Right? The nuclear explosions that came at the end of World War II and the explosions from hundreds of nuclear tests in subsequent years still have demonstrable effects on the human health. Every living thing on the planet today shows listen to this, man. Listen to me. Listen to what I'm saying to you, man. There's a reason why the Hebrew Israelites, we come out there on the street and we scream at the top of our lungs, man. Injustice, wickedness, evil. Well, one of the things we scream is the so-called white man is the devil. We don't say that as a gimmick. Listen to this, what is being stated right here. Every living thing on the planet today shows some sign of being exposed to the radiation emitted in the era of widespread nuclear testing. Let me read that again so you can, and you know who you can thank for that. You know who you can thank for that. Every living thing. This man has affected every living thing on the planet today shows sign of being exposed to the radiation emitted in the era of widespread nuclear testing. What we know about long-term effects of radiation exposure. The bomb dropped on Hiroshima on August 6, 1945, killed between 90,000 and 166,000 people due to the initial force. Heat and the whole war over there in the East was due to colonialism. It was due to the so-called white man. The Japanese were building themselves and raising themselves to fight back against the encroachment of the British and the Americans in the East, which they had no business being over there. See, the Japanese weren't trying to invade America. They were fighting against American invasion into their lands. All right? Hey, but thus the scriptures is fulfilled. That's the nature of this devil, man. Let's get that real quick. Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter. See, Esau was trying to make himself out to be the victim. You know, what the hell was you doing over there? Why the hell did Esau why is Hawaii part of America? There were people already living in Hawaii. There were people already living in America. Habakkuk 2 and 5. Yea, also, because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied. This man is covetous. This man wants everything to belong to him. That's why he was over there in the Far East. That's why World War II came into play. That's why the Japanese attacked the Americans, because they were fighting back against American and British imperialism in the East. All right? They were defending their right to autonomy, man. But gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long unto him that ladeth himself with thick clay? Shall not they rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee? And thou shalt be for booties unto them, because thou hast spoiled many nations. That's the legacy of the so-called white man. Thou hast spoiled many nations. All the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood, right? The red man, and for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein. Woe to him that coveteth, and evil covetousness to his house. Right? Because this is all about Esau getting what he wants when he wants it. Okay? Regardless of cost. Woe to him that coveteth, and evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high. That's why they represent the first world. The reason they can call where they live, why they can enjoy the socio-economic standards that they live in, is because they spoiled and destroyed the rest of the world. It's not because they're so fucking smart and benevolent and honorable like what they'll have you believe. Because they're the devil, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. Alright, so let's jump back over here. 3 days later, the bomb of Nagasaki killed another 60,000 to 80,000, and Esau couldn't wait to use those weapons. He didn't need to use those weapons. He could not wait to use the destructive power of the atom. But the beautiful thing is that he was the first nation to use these weapons, but he's going to end up being the last nation for these weapons to be used upon. All right? And thus it shall be fulfilled that he diggeth a pit, and he gonna fall into it. He opened up this Pandora's box, you know, through prophecy. This is Ecclesiastes 10 and 8. He that diggeth a pit shall fall into it. That same pit that Esau dug up, that he purposed for the others, is he gonna fall into that very same pit. Yeah? He that diggeth a pit shall fall into it, and whoso breaketh an hedge, a serpent shall bite him. Proverbs 26 and 27. Whoso diggeth a pit shall fall therein, and he that rolleth a stone, it will return upon him. Beautiful. You reap what you sow. All right? You reap what you sow. The wicked is snared by the workings of their own hands. America have pioneered the development of these nuclear weapons, and they're going to fall in perfection by these nuclear weapons. These same weapons that they thought was going to give them the ultimate supremacy over the earth and over the peoples of the earth is going to bring them into desolation and down into the pit. Psalms 9 and 16. The Lord is known by the judgment which he executeth. The wicked is snared in the work of his own hands. All right, because he was the smith that bloweth the coal that brought forth that instrument. And those instruments are going to be turned upon his own head. Isaiah 54 and 16. Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire. All right, the Manhattan Project. And that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy. And ultimately, the destruction is going to come back on Esau's head, man, and on America. It says researchers have found that babies who were exposed to radiation from the bombings in utero were significantly more likely to be born with small head size, mental disabilities, and were less likely to grow to normal height. Children born to women who were within 2.5 kilometers of the edge of the fireballs were at least 5 times as likely to demonstrate these effects when compared to people farther away. Among survivors, cancer rates in general rose approximately 10%. Leukemia rates rose more, almost 50%, and had the biggest effect on children because radiation affects children more than it affects anyone else because they're still rapidly growing. All right, so poisons and radiation and things of this nature in the environment affect children more than they affect adults. And that's why children today are sicker than they've ever been in the history of the planet Earth, because the children are more exposed to poisons than ever in the history of the planet Earth. And I could tell you who you got to thank for that. All right, so when you go down to that children's hospital, you know who you got to thank for it. The same person you think's trying to save those children. After the war, nuclear testing by major superpowers entered its heyday. The US and the Soviet Union both detonated hundreds of nuclear weapons before signing the Partial Test Ban Treaty in 1963, which prohibited above-ground nuclear tests. Because of those tests, radioactive particles and gases were spread in the atmosphere, according to the CDC. That effect was widespread enough to deposit radiation all over the globe. Anyone who has lived in the US after 1951 has received some exposure to fallout. All of our organs and tissues show some sign of it. In most cases, the potential increased cancer risk from the exposure is very small. Most of us receive far more radiation regularly from X-rays and similar procedures. But at least one CDC study estimated that fallout could eventually be responsible for up to 11,000 cancer deaths in the US, which they're lowballing that. They're lowballing that. And that's what Esau does. Lowball. People who were closer to locations where nuclear weapons were tested between 1951 and 1963 have fared worse than residents of other areas. Soldiers who witnessed and participated in tests in Nevada were approximately 14% more likely to die from leukemia, 20% more likely to die from prostate cancer, and more than 20% more likely to die from nasal cancer than soldiers not involved in those tests. Soldiers who witnessed Pacific Ocean tests had similar changes. One analysis looked at Norwegians exposed to fallout from Soviet tests conducted more than 500 miles away. The researchers found that people in some areas were hit for years by annual doses of radiation, about 60 times the size of an X-ray monogram, enough to cause harm. Kids who were born in exposed Norwegian regions during that time period were more likely to have lower IQs and educational achievement. Even the children of exposed individuals were later found to have lower cognitive scores. And it goes on and it goes on, man. And this man ain't changed, because to this very day, this man is using depleted uranium rounds. And you can go and watch documentaries on that. And they'll show you what depleted uranium is doing.
Hello. Depleted uranium is a type of weapon used in warfare. It is made out of using spent uranium fuel rods from nuclear reactors and using that metal to make bullets, artillery shells, and bombs. Depleted uranium is extremely effective at piercing military armor. This is because it is such a heavy metal in its natural state. When the shell casing comes off, that is to say, when the munition is fired, the depleted uranium comes into contact with oxygen. And this reacts, forming small airborne particulates, which then sift and float throughout the air until it's breathed in by a human being. These particulates then settle into the body and build up in fatty tissues. These lead to horrible birth defects and extreme abnormalities. Here you
and Esau's still using these. Esau doesn't change, man. Esau doesn't change. He weaponized this uranium, found another way to kill people with it.
United States servicemen are looking over some depleted uranium bullets. Little did they know about the serious health consequences. In 1990, Iraq invaded its southern and oil-rich neighbor, Kuwait. In order to free Kuwait, the United States sent well over 500,000 troops to defeat the Iraqi invaders. Tons and tons of depleted uranium were used in this fight by the Americans. Hundreds of thousands of U.S. and Iraqi troops have suffered what's called Gulf War syndrome, which was directly linked to the use of depleted uranium.
Which, by the way, to this day, the U.S. government don't want to admit what about Gulf War syndrome. They don't want to admit the culpability. And when you watch the documentaries, they knew exactly what they were doing, because when the generals would come to visit the men that were dealing with these things in the regions they would use it, the generals would have on their protective gear. But the actual soldiers were never issued the protective gear. Showed you they don't care about you American soldiers, man. And they knew exactly what the costs of using those weapons would be, right? But they didn't care. Esau does not care. And you could just search Gulf War syndrome. All these American soldiers, man, their children are deformed. Most of them are dead already, of course, right? But their children are deformed, if they could have children at all. And these were just the soldiers. The people that have to live in Iraq, among all that stuff, same thing. This man is the devil. What kind of people would do this, man?
Uranium. It's extremely similar to radiation sickness, although less severe. Depleted uranium has been called the Agent Orange of the Gulf War.
Agent Orange. Look up Agent Orange. This man has a history of doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. Poisoning the earth, poisoning the people of the earth, and don't give a shit. And then when he gets found out, maybe 100 years later, he might say sorry. To hell with this dude, man.
Birth defects were prominent, as well as other serious medical conditions, because of the use of this in warfare. Here, a young Iraqi mother holds her child who has been deformed at birth because of depleted uranium. In 2003, the United States invaded Iraq. Fighting was fierce throughout the country, and many thousands of pounds of depleted uranium munitions were used. Much of that depleted uranium was used around a city called Fallujah. Fallujah was a militant stronghold, and the battle to take Fallujah was long and arduous. After the battle, birth defect rates in Fallujah increased by 1,400%. That means 14 times more than the beginning of the war. These rates are even higher than after the atomic attacks on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The following pictures may be disturbing to some viewers, but show the devastating effects of depleted uranium and why it should be banned worldwide.
exactly what the hell we talking about, man. Soldiers, man, even their own people, man. If a man would do evil unto himself, to whom will he do good? All right. So this man has caused nothing but death and destruction, man. Now check this out. Fukushima. I don't know if you brothers or those of you out there that's listening remember what happened at Fukushima, but I haven't. And I'm constantly checking the news on Fukushima. Now, Fukushima, that whole power plant, first of all, there shouldn't be no nuclear power plants. The whole idea of nuclear in the industry, the nuclear industry is tied with the development of nuclear weapons. Those two industries go hand in hand. Okay? Now, Esau will try and make a case for these nuclear energy, which is bullshit. The nuclear energy creates nuclear waste. All right, they're expensive to build, right, and highly expensive to decommission. And you got to do something with all that nuclear waste poison that you've now created, that you're gonna have to stash somewhere on Earth and hope it doesn't eat its way out of the barrels or wherever it is the hell you stuck it in. Yeah. Now Esau, in his infinite wisdom, with General Electric, built these guys a nuclear power plant, right, on an earthquake zone. It's how smart this guy is. See, this man is all about the money. Basically, they said, fuck it, we're going to build this shit. There's a probability that this might happen, but fuck it. We just going to take the money and build it. That's Esau's spirit. Now look, Fukushima has now contaminated a third of the world's oceans. Now, the majority of this planet is covered by water. The majority of this planet is covered by water. The man has caused the contamination of a third of the world's oceans. Government scientists have officially confirmed our worst fears, that Fukushima has now contaminated a third of the world's oceans. Aside from the devastation already inflicted on our planet's sea life, officials confirm that the contamination is still spreading. Now, why is this not front page news? Why is this not of utmost importance? Why is two dykes getting so-called proposing to themselves more important than the death of the world's oceans? Who is in control of this? Who is in control of this? Aside from the devastation already inflicted on our planet's sea life, officials confirm that the contamination is still spreading. Alright, let's jump down. Fukushima has now contaminated 1/3 of all sea life. As an outcome, a huge number of radioactive waste was dumped into the Pacific Ocean. Of no surprise, this triggered great issue to countries based around the Pacific Ocean due to the possible economic and ecological ramifications. After leaking into the Pacific Ocean and spreading, scientists say that Fukushima has now contaminated 1/3 of Earth's oceans. Now, all of this goes back to who? Who opened the Pandora's box? Who is pioneering and leading forth the world into the era of nuclear technology? Whose fault is this? Who's in authority while this is going down, man? Oh boy. We need salvation from this man. This man is the devil that the Bible speaks of. Revelations 11:18, and the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead, that they should be judged, and that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants the prophets, and to the saints and them that fear thy name, small and great, and shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth, man. The earth is being destroyed, and the people of everything is being destroyed and broken down under the authority of this devil. Mr. Highest IQ in the world is destroying everything. He's making the world uninhabitable. Yeah? He's bringing in philosophies like feminism and all this stuff that men and women can't even live together. Dog and cat can live together, but a man and a woman can't even live together because of this devil. I got a dog and a cat that can live together, but a man and a woman can't live together without problems because of this devil. This guy has destroyed everything, and he's going to continue to destroy everything until he is destroyed, right? He's not what's the word? An asset to the earth. He's not an asset of life. He is against life. All right? He is a man of sin, which aka means the man of death. His path thereof is unto destruction. All right? Let's get a quick precept. I covered that. Let's destroy the earth, man. Isaiah 24. Isaiah 24 and 4. It says, the earth mourneth and fadeth away. The world languisheth and fadeth away. The haughty people of the earth do languish. The earth also is defiled, meaning polluted. The earth is polluted by what? By blood, by poisons of various nature, biological weapons, chemicals and plastic and all kind of madness. The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof. Right? And the people of the earth are following the ways of the so-called white man. He's the one that's in authority. Because they have transgressed the laws, because they don't live according to the law of life, according to the spirit, according to wisdom, changed the ordinances, right? They outside of the natural order of things and broken the everlasting covenant, man. There's a way that man is set up to live on this earth, which is fruitful and bringing forth life. And they're breaking that way and going off into their own way, which is leading to destruction. Therefore have the curse devoured the earth. And this is an example of the curse devouring the earth. One third of all the sea life is contaminated. It's a curse. And they that dwell therein are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned and few men left. Because even sperm counts, everything's going downhill, man. The way that we're heading is the way of great death and destruction. It's going to come to a head violently because of wickedness, because of evil. All right? Esau's plying the people with entertainment and all this stuff. The world is heading to nothing but death and destruction, man. And that's what's going to come. And all of game playing and all the ignoring what's really going on is going to stop. There's going to come a time where no one is going to be able to ignore the situation which the so-called white man has created on this planet Earth, which is nothing more than war, death, chaos, and destruction. And it's going to consume the peoples of the earth. And the Lord is with that. To be a punishment, man. To be an admonishment. For the wickedness and the evil that you people go along with, man. I didn't really want to make this video that long, man, but you know what, man? We gotta come up against the wicked. We gotta come up against the seed of the wicked. You people hear us call the so-called white man the devil, and you get bugged out your mind, man. This man is a seed of the wicked, man. The people against whom the Lord have indignation forever, and it's evident. Look at what this man has done, man. Look at what this man has done. Look at his track record, man. What he's done is worse than what any other people has done. The amount of death and destruction this man causes, you can't put a number on it, man. The amount of disease this man causes. You want to look at gang violence. Gang violence is nothing compared to what this man, and he's involved in all that gang violence. He's just the devil, man. while he's being a hypocrite on TV, acting like he's a philanthropist, like he's a damn saint, man. He's nothing more than Satan. And that's why the scripture says Satan himself be transformed into an angel of light. This is Malachi 1:4. Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness. Another word for that is the border of death. And the people against whom the Lord have indignation forever. The Lord hates these devils, man. And you should hate these devils too. If you are alive and you want life, and you are an agent of life, and you are a proponent of life, then you will hate Esau, because he is nothing more than a representation of death. He is the end of life. Okay, he was made to be hated, man. Talk about hate speech. This man was, if there was ever a thing that was created in creation that was made for the specific person to be hated, then it has to be the so-called white man. He deserves hate. All right, any man that can cause all this death and destruction and chaos deserves to be hated. I don't care what you got to say. The Most High created a creature truly worthy of hate. And with that, I'm going to say shalom.